So again, the picture has shifted, and we've got, as we've got more information, we've got a clearer picture of what's going on. But there is yet more to come, because we don't know what the workload of each of these groups is. We don't know how many calls they're dealing with. It may be that Jesus only gets 1 call a week, whereas Barry gets 50 calls a day, in which case, he's a bit more overworked. So of course his accountable time is going to be higher. So we want to bring in the number of incidents, which, as you'll see, is already in our data pool because we used it for the variables. So I'm just going to right click on this chart and do term 2, because we're on a different chart. We're going to use the vertical bar and line, and that transforms the chart into a vertical bar and line. And again, I just want to go into view structure, because it's by default moved the accountable time over to a line, and we don't want it there. We want it still as a bar, and we're going to bring number of incidents in as a line. Okay, so where were we? Well, we were saying Jesus was doing the best because his accountable time was lowest, and actually he's dealing with a fair few calls. Poor old Frank not only has the worst accountable time, but actually is dealing with the lowest number of calls. And actually Barry in software is looking a bit better. His accountable time is high, but he's dealing with by far the highest number of calls. So again, we've got a bit of a clearer picture, but we don't know how many staff members are in each group. It may be that Frank in telecoms is dealing with the lowest number of calls, but it might just be him and 1 colleague, whereas the software group, say with Barry, they're dealing with the most number of calls, but they might be a department of 50. So the next thing we want to find out is the number of calls per staff member. So again, we're going to have to edit the query, and we're going to have to bring in the assignee name object. That's going to tell us who each call was assigned to. And again, we need to create a new variable to show us our number of calls per staff member. So I'm just going to go up and click on variables, and we're going to create a variable called the number of calls per staff member. There's no system to this. You can call them whatever you like, whatever's going to be easiest to remember. And that's going to be the number of incidents divided by, we're not going to use sum this time, we're going to use count, which is a different function, because we want to count up the assignee name. Just need to put some brackets in there, and we're good to go. Okay, so that's ready to go, so I'm going to just click OK. And there we have our number of calls per staff member object, and we can add that into the chart again by clicking on view structure, and we'll keep the number of incidents in there, and we'll add our new variable in as another line. There we go. Well, what does this tell us? Well, actually, Frank really is doing pretty shockingly badly, let's be frank. He's got by far the highest average accountable time, and he's dealing with by far the lowest number of calls per staff member. Barry over in software is dealing with the highest number of calls per staff member, but his accountable time is quite high. Who's the winner here? Well, probably Judy over in service desk. Her accountable time is the second lowest, and she's dealing with the second highest number of calls per staff member. So she's really doing well. I think she's probably going to end up getting the bonus check, and Frank really is going to be enjoying that jelly next year. That's about it for this time. Let's just recap quickly. What I've shown you, as I promised I would, is that you can't judge a book by its cover. We started off thinking that Frank was the best performer. Turns out he's really the worst on every level. We started off thinking that Judy was the worst performing work group manager, and actually she's turned out probably to be the best. So what we've done is we've really got a handle on our data. We've increased the layers of complexity. We have a solid understanding, and it's going to help us make good decisions based on that insight. So as I say, that's it for this time. Next time we're going to look at scheduling and publishing. If you do have any questions about these videos, if you need any more information, do feel free to email me, tom.dowler@westburyusa.com, and I'll be pleased to answer them. And I'll see you next time.